Hello, welcome to Andertons TV. My name is Chet Dusby, that's the Maltese Falcon. This is a Korg Nautilus, and it's here on the table because it has a wiggle stick. It's got a pitch bend, and my favourite type. And in this video, I'm going to rattle through some quick tips on how I think you could improve your pitch bending, or at least get into it, and even show you a few licks. Let's go. Firstly, what is pitch bend? It sounds like this. Lots of widdly woo-woo stuff, right? So I understand this might not have been something you've got into. You think, why has it got an application to me? You're right. There's very few musical situations where I think this is the right thing to do. It often comes a lot in synth bass at the moment. Little inflections, I think that's where you're hearing it. But I'm going to stay with this lead sound. This is called S-press lead. This is my favourite type of lead sound. And the sound choice is very important. You're looking for something that cuts, isn't too wishy-washy, so when the notes blend in together, they don't blend too much. Very much the mindset of a lead guitar sound. So I love this sound for that reason. We're going to be working in A minor today, which are the following notes: A, C, D, E, G, back to A, and that repeats up all up and down the keyboard. And why this is cool is A minor, these will work over A minor chord progressions, or they'll work in a C major tonality as well. And all the other lessons I've got working in C, these are the type of things that if you can record yourself playing the piano in C, these licks will work over C major as well as A minor, something like Ain't No Sunshine, for example. Let's start with one tip that will get you off the ground running with that pentatonic scale, which is that on every degree of that pentatonic, you can just fully max out your pitch bend, whether it be a lever or a wheel, which we'll get to in a minute. You can go fully to the right, and that will harmonically work. So check this out. So try that. I wish we had, actually, we're going to find a little bit of something for me to play over so you can hear it in context. The Falcon has done me a right solid, and he's found a track called Bad Mother by Pete Honore. I think you can find these on his website. Yeah, kick us off, DJ. So, we are talking about every degree of the pentatonic, A, C, D, E, G, and A. And listen to how, with a full bend, they all work harmonically. So if you could pause me, DJ, for a second. Thank you, brother. So you heard that they worked, right? Now the thing to do is hit the note first. Da, da, a bit of the time. And obviously the music and the context you're in will change that timing. But one thing I was urging myself to do, and I didn't, was that I wanted to apply a vibrato when I got to that note. And it's a real key part that I hear people, they trip over with pitch bending. Like, how do I get it sounding good? A bit like in the Talkbox video where I did with Andy Mack, where he was talking about how he enunciated the words, these little bit inflections that make it sound legit. You want to add vibrato. Now, on a wiggle stick like this, and on this patch, I only have to push up at the end, so check it out. You hear that oscillation in pitch going. On a wheel-style keyboard, it's a little bit harder, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but that'll be another section. Let's stick with this. We'll whack on the backing track and I'll apply that vibrato and hear how I'll do it without and then with, and you'll hear it. Thanks, DJ. Here we go. Without. Back with. Thank you, DJ. I definitely am more excited and emoted just by that little trick. So we are already off to the races. We know we can pitch bend up a full whack on here. If it doesn't sound right on your keyboard, just so you know, I've probably missed this step because this patch is programmed. Most of them will be programmed to move up a tone. So when I'm bending this, I'm going from A to B here. And you can kind of check that out because you just hear where the note goes to, find it on the keyboard, and that'll be the setting. You want the pitch bend up to always be a tone. There's no universe where you don't want it to be a tone. So if you're on a synthesizer where you can set that interval or it doesn't sound like that on yours, make sure you find it in the settings or adjust it to be going up a tone. We'll talk about down in a bit later. But we've got these licks. Or we've got these notes that we know. How do we get them into licks? Now, one way is to just, obviously we're doing it in time and musically, is to pick any of these notes and do that and go. So DJ, thank you sir, I appreciate it. And this mentality is just pick a note in that pentatonic and bend and vibrato and see where you're at. So here we go. Thank you, DJ. Now you started, I could hear that the chords were changing, and I thought, oh, I'll try another note of the pentatonic. And guess what? They worked. It's like a cheat code. Stick in there. I swear, if you go off piece now, it all gets really complicated. And you can think, oh, hang on, but if I play the B and I can go to C, right? But that is a very complicated half sustain maneuver, which I would leave out for now. And it's only in very rare occasions do you need to do in between sustain stuff. So let's stick with those notes. And you heard me going, which is a double. So we could go through each note. We've already got two licks there. We've got that one, and we've got the double. Now, I'm going to address, before I teach you just a few stock licks and get you out of here, hopefully that gets you up and running, and you can say, oh, hang on, this is nothing to be fearful of. As long as I'm going up and I'm playing the pentatonic, pretty good to go, and you'll probably get your ears around it. Let's talk a bit about the other type of pitch bend device. Just because I don't want to spend too long on it, I'm holding it to demonstrate, right? You can see the difference that on here, I'm using my middle finger, thoroughly suggest the middle finger instead of that one. Just seems to be a bit more purchase on it. On here, we've got to use our thumb. So instead of creating a fulcrum and having it set like that, you want to grab it somewhere. Or here, I can grab the wood on the side, and that means that I'm going to get a more consistent motion. If there's a big panel, you want to kind of plant your hand flat. Now, the big limitation I find with the wheel is that when I go up to pitch, when I get up to the, I can't, to do vibrato, I've got to turn up the modulation. So I've got to bring my thumb over. Yes, I could do it at the top, but it's not the same as here. It's just not the same sound. So for out and out shredding, I totally go whittle stick. But for controllability, and often on chords, when you're pitch bending chords, which might be another lesson, which is very specific to neo soul really and things like that, the wheel is good. But we're sticking on the wiggle stick for now, and back to the lesson. So we know that the pentatonic's our friend, and on every degree of that scale, we can go up a full whack to the right. Cool. Let's. I want to show you a lick that a really crazy guy once showed me, who I respect. He's an amazing bass player called Rick James. Not the Rick James, but he's the Rick James in another sense. And he showed me this lick, and I think it's really important. I've been waiting to show it to you for a long time. It's using the A minor pentatonic, and it's going to start on D, on this note here. And we're going to go D, C, D, E, C, A. Without me talking. Okay. Now, it might feel a bit finicky under the fingers. I'm using my middle finger for that D, index for the C, back to the index on D, E, and very slowly, no talking. And get that under your fingers, play that a while and be like... In any tempo, any time, it sounds cool. DJ, if we can hit the backing track, I'll just play the lick with no pitch bending and we'll see where we can work in some pitch bending into that and some little techniques that might help. This is a really broad discussion. Thank you, DJ Falks. DJ Falcon on the track one time. Cool, thanks Falcon. Now you saw me, I couldn't help but break out of it because one of the great things about, and he was telling me when he taught it to me, is that it gets all those muscles going and you start phrasing things more like a horn player and less, you know. So. And I'm gonna do some things that I naturally do and try to explain it. So the first thing I did there was I played the lick and I just exaggerated the last note. And instead of using the vibrato this way, you can get that Princey, Morris Day in the Time thing by giving it a good old wiggle. But I'm only going one way, just like a guitar player when he bends up on that top E. He's not going either side of the string, he's just going up one way, and it sounds more like a guitar to me. So I've parked my hand, I've got my middle finger, and I'm going to go D, C, D, E, C, manual vibrato. So that's one, I'm going to use that. Let's do a further two more. So next one would be to go for the first few notes and then realizing that, hang on, we're using all the notes of the pentatonic. So technically on any one, I could bend up, right, Jack? That's what you said? Yeah, I was right. So I could be like, and a little one at the end. I could be like, on that D, I could be on any note, and it's like a muscle memory. You can just try it. Like, so we've got that where we can start messing with the phrasing. Let yourself go there. One thing you'll see me doing, and a little exercise I want to throw in here that I've been thinking about, is we know we can bend all the way up. We can apply vibrato like that. We can also play this lick. Use manual vibrato. See how that first one? Just one little, as I hit it, I went. And you'll be like, oh, I can fit that in. It's a bit like a puzzle, and you want to develop a muscle memory between the two of them. But hey, I'm only ever going up, and I've limited myself to the pentatonic. The other thing that's a really key part of this is a legato fingering. And to explain that, instead of working up, we're going to work down, and we're going to start with A. That's the exercise this time. So, what am I doing? I'm looking for G to A, and I'm looking for this sound. Squat up, squat up, squat up, squat up, squat up, squat up, squat. It's a bit like when I teach the squib, 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 squib. On guitar, this one says squab, squat, squab, squab, squab. And it's played like this. So I'm looking for that squab sound, and I'm going to hit the G with my index finger, and then afterwards, whilst the G's down, I come in, and whilst the G's down, I'm hitting the A with my middle finger. Squab. I do it really slow. Not, and not. Squab. Right? And then I move that same shape down to the D and E, then C and D, and we're back again. So that's the only 3 positions. So the first one's G to A, second one's D to E, third one's C to D. And we're back to where we were. We can go down the whole keyboard. Right? Why is that important? Because it sets up a lot of licks. So, and here's the exercise. We're going to do the squib, but after I've done the squab, it's not a squib, it's a squab, this one. Brendan Squab. We've got that. I want you to play it, then pitch bend it. So check this out. Now, do one where you do the full bend, so squab, then bend. And then you could do one where you just do an exaggerated vibrato. Or with the pitch bend. It just gets you into, because when we were in this lick town, that is all legato. I'm trying to think about what I'm doing here. But again, I know that when I hit there, I'm cool. They're actually, all I'm doing is I've spent a long time realizing it's a muscle memory. When I'm in pentatonic, that I can flick this in varying degrees. And a lot of it is hitting that squab with a touch of vibrato. That's like a real part of the sound. So we've got the bends up. We know we've got to vibrato at the end. That means if you've got a wheel, you've got to get your thumb in there to do it, all right? The other thing is manual vibrato. Just give it some excitement. Also, we know that we can do this phrase. And that can set us off. And we know that we've got the squabs. That we can get us in the right fingering. All those type of things. Let's just end with one of my favourite licks, which is like a Stevie Ray Vaughan lick to me. And that's where listening's really important, right, for this. I did a lot of listening, the Herbie Hancock Future to Future record, especially the live DVD with a guy called Daryl Diaz. Unbelievable. One More Car, One More Rider by Eric Clapton, his keyboard player on there. David Sanchez, amazing pitch bend. Thoroughly recommend going to check his solo out on a tune called Reptile. So look out for the solo by Daryl Diaz on Chameleon, Future to Future. David Sanchez, One More Car, One More Rider, Reptile. Obviously there's all the electric band stuff and things like that, but a lot of inspiration should come from guitar players, because that's often what we're trying to do, right, is replicate the guitar players. So one thing I found is they're in this A minor position, a lot of it is about bending up to the root. So And there's this little licks, Stevie Ray, it's almost, they call it string catching, I think, where it's like, and there, you'll see him like bend up, catch a string and do it over and over again, like a little pattern. And we can get that going here. So we're gonna get these 3 fingers, put our thumb on E over the top of that, index finger over G, middle finger on A, and we're gonna start with a G, and we're gonna do this bend up to the A. And what we do is we bend up to the A, let go, hit the A, G, E, and then we start the process again. So here we go, really slow. G, let go, A, G, E, G. And it becomes like a paradiddle almost. So I'm going bend, A. So it's actually only 2 parts. So this is the second part. All I've got to do is put this note in between. So I bend up. And that's a lot, actually, I'm figuring it out as I'm playing it. Let's do the ending bit, because Stevie, he'd be shredding like... And you can keep that going on for freaking ages, right? But then at the end of it, you've got to kind of give someone a release, so... And that's a real Stevie one, so that you're bending the note up, right? But we're going slower on this one. You see how it's so personal and you can do it all really different? Even when I was... So I could go... Bang, and we've got the sub 37 on here because I wanted to show you one little tip. If you can, like here on the sub 37, you want to have it set up to a tone or 2 semitones. So for this, but on the way down, you can, I thoroughly recommend setting either an octave or in this case, 2 octaves. Then I can do dive bombs, basically. And you can get out of dodge. Bit out of tune there at the bottom, but we're pushed for time. Thanks so much for staying here. If you like what we're doing, consider subscribing. If you don't, let us know. Hopefully this gave you a little bit of a window of how to get into Pitchbend. Just again, I'm a sucker for recapping in these things. Remember, every note of the pentatonic works with a full whack on the wheel or on the wiggle stick. Remember that when you get to that note, apply vibrato. You can see here, I've got to bring it in with my other hand. Now I could apply it on the wheel, but it's so hard to get the same speed and very hard to get the natural vibrato for me. That's why I like the lever. But again, make a fulcrum, you're all right. The other thing is you've got that lick. Right, which unlocks a lot of the fingering for it. Also, we've got the squabs. Which get you into that feeling of, oh, I know where I'm bending to, getting under the fingers, and then the Stevie lick. Okay, hopefully that went in, and I don't know how to do it any other way, so that was a bit of a rambling lesson. I'm going to jam out on Pete's thing, trying to use those things that I tried to teach to you. Let's see if I was speaking any sense. Thanks so much for stopping by. DJ Falcon, thank you. Hit me.